Imagine waking up one morning, grabbing your coffee, sitting down at the kitchen table, and realizing that the Social Security check you've been counting on for years might not look the same much longer. Not a little different, potentially very different. Now I know that sounds alarming, and honestly, it should get your attention, because something is happening right now around Social Security that a lot of people are either ignoring or just don't fully understand yet. And if you're receiving benefits or if you're getting close to retirement, this conversation directly affects you. So let's talk about it, openly, honestly, no fluff. Here's the thing most people forget when they hear the word Social Security changes. They immediately think about numbers, percentages, policy language, government documents. But what this is really about is people's lives. Think about the average retiree right now. They're already dealing with grocery bills that are 30, sometimes 40% higher than they were just a few years ago. Rent hasn't come down, utilities haven't come down, prescription costs. Don't even get me started. And for millions of Americans, Social Security isn't just one source of income. It is the income. It's the entire financial foundation that holds everything together. So when changes start getting confirmed around that foundation, people get nervous, and honestly, that nervousness makes complete sense. A lot of beneficiaries right now are living in this constant tension between hoping things improve and quietly fearing they won't, and that tension is exactly what makes this moment so important to pay attention to. A lot of beneficiaries believe that the system has already been stretched too thin for too long, and they're not wrong to feel that way. Some people are starting to wonder whether these changes are actually designed to help them, or whether they're just adjustments that sound good on paper but don't really move the needle in real life. Others think this could mean the beginning of a much larger restructuring of how Social Security works going forward. Not just a tweak here and there, but a real shift in the foundation of the program. And honestly, that conversation is already happening in Washington. It's just not being broadcast the way it should be. So what are the actual confirmed changes? Let's get into it. The Social Security Administration has been quietly rolling out adjustments that touch multiple parts of the program. We're talking about changes that affect how benefits are calculated, how eligibility is being reviewed, and how certain rules around retirement age and earnings limits are being applied. Now here's where it gets interesting. Some of these changes are genuinely good news for certain groups of retirees. There are provisions being discussed and in some cases already moving forward that could provide some financial breathing room for people who have been getting less than they deserve for years. And this is a big, but not everyone benefits equally, and that gap between who gains and who gets left behind is something that very few people are talking about openly. What stands out to me is how uneven this all feels, like the people who need the most relief are sometimes the last ones to actually receive it. But here's the part that nobody is really talking about. There's a much bigger issue sitting underneath all of these changes, and if it doesn't get addressed soon, it could make everything else we're discussing feel small in comparison. The Social Security Trust Fund, that's what we need to talk about, because the trustees report, the official government report, has already projected that if nothing changes legislatively, the trust fund could face a significant shortfall within the next several years. And when that happens, benefits for every single recipient could be automatically cut by somewhere around 20–23%. Now I want to be clear, this isn't me being dramatic, this isn't speculation from some random corner of the internet, this is what the government's own report says. And what makes this so frustrating is that we've known about this problem for decades. Literally decades. Politicians have had 40 years to come up with a real solution, 40 years, and we're still sitting here having the same conversation. Personally, I think the reason nothing has been done is because fixing Social Security requires political courage. It requires making decisions that might upset certain voters or certain donors. And so it just keeps getting pushed down the road, year after year after year. Meanwhile, real people are living on fixed incomes and hoping the check keeps coming in full. There's growing speculation that the political pressure around Social Security is finally starting to build in a way that could actually force some action. Some people believe that with more seniors voting, with more attention on retirement security, lawmakers might finally be pushed into doing something real. Many expect that the next couple of years will be the most critical window for this program in a generation. Others are more skeptical. They've heard the promises before. They've watched the debates and nothing changed. So the trust isn't exactly overflowing right now, and honestly, both reactions make sense. And this is where things could become a much bigger issue than most people realize right now. Because it's not just about Social Security in isolation. What's happening around this program is connected to a much larger economic picture that affects everything from Medicare to Medicaid to the basic financial security of millions of American households. Think about the timing of all this. Inflation has been brutal, interest rates have been high, Housing costs have made it nearly impossible for a lot of seniors to downsize or relocate, and the cost of healthcare continues to rise faster than any COLA adjustment has ever fully covered. So when we're talking about potential changes to Social Security, we're not talking about it in a vacuum. We're talking about it in one of the most financially stressful environments that retirees have faced in recent memory. And that context matters, because a change that might seem small on paper can feel enormous when your entire budget is already stretched to the limit. The way I see it, the real story here isn't just the policy. It's the human cost of uncertainty, when people don't know what's coming. When the rules keep shifting. It creates a kind of financial anxiety that's hard to describe if you haven't lived it, but millions of beneficiaries are living it right now. Some people are starting to wonder if there's a way to prepare for these changes before they fully land, whether there are steps they can take right now to protect themselves financially. A lot of beneficiaries believe that being informed is genuinely the first line of defense, and they're right about that, because the people who understand how these changes work are always in a better position than the people who find out about it after the fact. There's also a growing feeling among many seniors that the system doesn't exactly make it easy to stay informed. The official communications from Social Security can be confusing. The websites are dense, and too much of the information online is either outdated or flat out wrong, which is exactly why conversations like this one matter. But here's what might actually surprise a lot of people about what's coming next. Because buried inside these changes are a few things that could genuinely work in your favor if you know what to look for, and most people don't. So let's flip this for a second, because it's not all dark clouds here. There are some changes that could potentially benefit certain retirees and beneficiaries in real ways. Depending on your specific situation, your work history, your age, your household setup, some of what's being implemented or discussed could actually mean more money or more flexibility for you. For example, adjustments to how the earnings test works near full retirement age could give some people more room to keep working without penalty. Changes in house-spousal benefits are calculated could help certain households that have historically been underpaid, and there are ongoing discussions about expanding protections for people who started claiming early due to financial necessity rather than choice. Now, none of this is guaranteed, and the details matter enormously. Your specific situation will determine how much of this applies to you, but the possibility of real improvement is there. The problem is most people never find out about these opportunities because nobody explains them in plain language. Here's what I honestly believe after watching this system for a long time. The people who get the most out of Social Security are not always the ones who contributed the most. They're the ones who understood the rules, who asked the right questions, who didn't just accept the first answer they were given, and that's not a criticism of anyone. The system is genuinely complicated. It was designed by bureaucrats for bureaucrats, and navigating it without guidance is like trying to read a legal contract written in a foreign language. But here's the thing. You don't have to figure it out alone, and you don't have to rely on viral videos with scary thumbnails and zero real information. What you need is a clear, honest picture of what's actually happening and what it actually means for your life. That's it. So where does all of this leave us? Social Security is changing. Some of those changes are already confirmed. Others are still being debated and decided, and the full picture of what 2026 and beyond looks like for millions of beneficiaries is still coming into focus. What we do know is that the stakes are real. The financial pressure on American retirees is real, and the decisions being made right now in Washington, in state houses, in Social Security offices across the country will have consequences that people will feel in their daily lives for years to come. The real question now is whether these changes will finally move in a direction that actually helps the people who need it most. Or whether millions of beneficiaries are about to face another year of hoping for relief that never quite arrives. That's the conversation worth having, and it's one we're going to keep having until something real changes.